The sanctuary station floated in the quiet darkness of space, far from the busy trade routes and crowded worlds. It was a place for the broken ones, the lost ones, the ones who had nowhere else to go. The station held many children from different alien species, all of them refugees from wars they did not start and could not understand. In the Eastern Wing, 4 small aliens lived together in a room painted soft blue. The station workers called them the quiet ones because they rarely made noise. They barely moved. They were afraid of everything. Tay was the first of them. He had gray fur that covered his small body, and eyes so large they seemed to take up half his face. His species, the Velans, came from a peaceful moon where nothing hunted and nothing fought. But Tay's moon was gone now, turned to dust by weapons too big to imagine. He was 8 years old in human counting, and he jumped at every sound. A door closing made him run. Footsteps in the hall made him hide under his bed. Even the gentle hum of the station's air system made his ears flatten against his head. Rin was 9, small for her age, with quills running down her back like a crown. She was Quilline from a world of forests and songs. Her people sang everything, spoke everything in music. But Rin had not made a sound since the transport ship brought her here 6 months ago. Her quills rattled when she was nervous, which was always. The doctor said there was nothing wrong with her throat. She just chose silence over a world that had taken her voice along with her family. Bo was the smallest and the youngest at 7. His skin was almost see-through, showing the faint blue glow of his blood moving underneath. The Mirathi were fragile things, living in deep caves on their homeworld where nothing could hurt them. Mo's family had tried to escape when the raid started. He was the only one who made it to the rescue ships. Now he refused to leave his sleeping pod, a soft enclosed bed that made him feel safe. He only came out to eat, and even then he grabbed his food and ran back. Hay was 10 and tried so hard to be brave. She had orange-red fur and a pointed face like the foxes from Earth Stories. Her people, the Fenari, were clever and quick, but not fighters. Never fighters. Hay told herself every morning that she would be strong today, that she would not be afraid. But by midday, she was shaking again, hiding when workers walked too fast down the halls, crying when the lights flickered during maintenance. The 4 of them moved through Sanctuary Station like ghosts. The alien workers who ran the station were kind. They brought soft blankets and warm food. They spoke in gentle voices and moved slowly. But kindness was not enough. The workers were prey species themselves, herbivores and pacifists who had never known violence. They did not understand what the cubs needed. They did not know how to teach them not to fear. At night, the 4 cubs huddled together in one bed, even though they each had their own. Tay would curl against Rin's side. Bo would hide his face in Hay's fur. Hay would wrap her arms around all of them and pretend she was not scared too. They would lie awake for hours, listening to every creak and groan of the station, imagining monsters in every shadow. The station director, a tall being with green skin and too many arms, worried about them. She had seen many traumatized children pass through these halls, but these 4 were different. They were not healing. They were getting worse, shrinking into themselves, fading like stars going dark. "We need someone who understands fear," the director said to her staff one morning. "Someone who knows predators and danger. Someone who can stand between them and the universe." Her assistant, a floating jellyfish creature in a tank of water, bobbed nervously. "You cannot mean a Death Worlder," it said. "I mean exactly that." The director replied, so the message went out through the bureaucratic channels of the Galactic Refugee Commission. They needed someone human, someone from that terrifying world of storms and predators and endless danger. Most species in the galaxy feared humans, called them monsters in soft skin, apex predators who smiled with their hunting teeth. But the director had read the reports. She knew that humans, for all their violence, loved fiercely. They formed packs. They protected the weak. And they understood fear because they lived with it every day on their nightmare planet. 3 weeks later, the response came. A human had accepted the position. Her name was Yuna, and she would arrive within the month. When the director told the cubs about their new caretaker, she tried to make it sound cheerful. "A new friend is coming to help take care of you," she said, bending down to their level. Tay's ears went flat. Rin's quills rattled like dried leaves. Bio disappeared into his pod. Only Hay managed to speak, her voice tiny and afraid. "What kind of friend?" The director hesitated, then decided on honesty. "A human." The room went silent. Even Hay stopped breathing for a moment. They had heard stories about humans. Every species in the galaxy had stories about humans. Humans who fought wars with their bare hands. Humans who ate meat with sharp teeth. Humans who came from a world so deadly that 90% of the galaxy's species would die there in minutes. That night, the 4 cubs held each other even tighter than usual. They did not sleep at all. They waited for the monster to arrive. Yuna stepped off the transport ship with only a single bag over her shoulder. She was young, maybe in her mid-20s by human counting, with dark hair pulled back in a simple tie. A pale scar ran across her jaw, barely visible unless you knew to look for it. She wore plain clothes, nothing military, nothing threatening. But her eyes gave her away. They were the eyes of someone who had seen too much. The station director met her at the docking bay, all 4 arms extended in welcome. "Miss Yuna, thank you for accepting this position. We are in desperate need of your help." Yuna shook one of the offered hands, gentle but firm. "Just Yuna is fine, and I will do my best, but I need you to understand something. I am not here because I am brave. I am here because I needed to leave where I was." "You were a combat medic, yes? In the Human Defense Corps?" Yuna's jaw tightened just slightly. "Yes, for 3 years. I saved lives and I took them when I had to. Now I just want to help children feel safe. That is all." The director led her through the station's corridors, explaining the situation as they walked. 4 cubs, all traumatized, all afraid of everything. They needed someone who understood violence, who could stand between them and their fears. Someone who could be strong when they could not. "They know you are coming," the director said as they approached the eastern wing. "They know you are human. I will be honest with you, Yuna. They are terrified." "Good," Yuna said quietly. The director's stalks stiffened in surprise, but Yuna continued. "Fear means they are still alive. Fear means they have something left to protect. I can work with fear." When they entered the common room where the cubs spent their days, Yuna saw them immediately. 4 small shapes huddled together in the far corner, as far from the door as possible. She could see their terror, the way they pressed against each other, the way their eyes tracked her every movement. She did not approach them. Instead, she turned to the director and spoke in a normal voice. "Thank you for showing me around. I think I will settle in now. The cubs can come say hello when they are ready." The director seemed uncertain but nodded and left. Yuna moved to the center of the room, set down her bag, and began unpacking slowly. She pulled out a small tablet, a water bottle, a warm book with a fabric cover. She sat down on the floor, her back to the cubs, and opened the book. For an hour, she read in silence. The cubs did not move. She could feel their eyes on her, could hear their quiet breathing, the nervous rattle of Rin's quills. But Yuna did not turn around. She just sat and read and waited. When mealtime came, a station worker brought food to the common room. Yuna thanked them and set the tray on a low table. She took her portion and sat with her back still to the cubs, eating slowly. She hummed while she ate, an old song from Earth. something her grandmother used to sing. It was soft and low and sad in a gentle way. Behind her, she heard movement. Small feet padding on the floor. The sound of someone eating quickly, frantically. Then the sound of retreat. Una smiled to herself, but did not look. This became her routine. Every day, she would sit in the common room, always with her back to the cubs, always doing something quiet and calm. Reading, humming, organizing her tablet, folding her few clothes. She never approached them. She never tried to talk to them. She just existed in their space, patient and untreating. At night, Una slept in a small room next to the cubs' quarters. She left both doors open so they could see her. She wanted them to see that she was vulnerable when she slept, that she trusted them enough to close her eyes in their presence. One night, near the end of her first week, she woke to the sound of breathing near her doorway. She kept her eyes closed, her breathing steady, pretending to still be asleep. After a long moment, the breathing moved away. Small footsteps retreated. Una opened her eyes just enough to see a gray shape disappearing around the corner. Tay had come to check on her. During her second week, Una changed her approach slightly. She began to eat facing the cubs, but she never made direct eye contact. In human culture, direct eye contact was normal. But to prey species, a predator's stare meant death. So Una looked at the space beside them, or at her food, or at the wall. Anywhere but into their eyes. "I used to be afraid of the dark," she said one day while eating, speaking to no one in particular. "When I was small, maybe 5 years old, I thought monsters lived in my closet. Every night I would hide under my blankets and shake." She took another bite and chewed slowly. The cubs were listening. She could tell by how still they had gone. "My older brother, his name was Jiho. He told me something that helped. He said the dark is not the problem. The dark is just the dark. It is what we imagine in the dark that scares us. And our imaginations are always scarier than reality." Hay's voice, small and trembling, came from across the room. "But what if reality is scary too?" Una looked at the wall beside Hay's head and nodded slowly. "Then you face it. Not alone, but with people who love you. Scary things are less scary when you do not face them by yourself. Are you not afraid of anything?" Hay asked. Una laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "I am afraid of many things. I am afraid of failing. I am afraid of hurting people I care about. I am afraid of my own memories sometimes." She paused, then added softly, "Being afraid does not make you weak. It makes you alive. What matters is what you do with that fear." That night, B.O. had a nightmare. His translator device, which turned his squeaks into words, screamed, "Make eye to stop," loud enough to wake everyone in the wing. Una appeared in the doorway of the cubs' room. Within seconds, B.O. saw her and froze, his translucent skin flashing with panic colors. Una did not enter the room. She sat down in the hallway, just outside the door where he could see her. "I am not coming in," she said calmly. "But I am not leaving either. You are safe. I promise you are safe." Then she began to tell a story. It was about a human child who lived on Earth, in a place with tall mountains and deep forests. The child was afraid of wolves that lived in the mountains. But one day, the child got lost and a wolf found them. The wolf did not hurt the child. The wolf led them home. "Sometimes the things we fear are not what we think they are," Una said softly. "And sometimes the scariest looking things become our greatest protectors." B.O. listened, his breathing slowing. By the time Una finished the story, he was asleep again. But Una stayed in the hallway for the rest of the night, her back against the wall, making sure all 4 cubs could see her if they woke in the morning. When she finally stood to leave, she found a small blanket had been placed over her shoulders while she dozed. She smiled and folded it carefully before leaving it on the floor outside their door. 3 weeks after Yuna arrived, something changed. It started small, so small that the station workers almost missed it. Ri and spoke. It was during breakfast. Yuna was eating her usual meal, humming that same old Earth song, when a quiet voice cut through the air like the first crack in ice. "Why are you not afraid?" Yuna stopped humming. She looked at the space beside Rin's head, not directly at her, and thought about the question carefully. "I am afraid," she said finally. "I am afraid of loud noises because they remind me of explosions. I am afraid of being alone because I have lost too many friends. I am afraid of failing you, all of you, because you deserve someone better than me." She took a sip of water and continued. "But being afraid does not mean you cannot move. My grandmother used to say that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is being afraid and doing what needs to be done anyway." "How?" Rin's voice was stronger now, more certain. "How do you move when you are afraid? One step at a time. One breath at a time. And you remember that you are not alone." Yuna smiled, still not looking directly at any of them. "I am here, and I am not going anywhere." After that day, the barriers began to crumble faster. Tay started following Yuna around the station. At first, he stayed far behind, darting from corner to corner like a shadow. But gradually, he got closer. Within days, he walked only a few steps behind her, then beside her. Then, when they were in the common room and a maintenance panel fell with a loud bang, Tay did not run. He pressed himself against Yuna's legs and stayed there, shaking but not fleeing. Yuna placed a gentle hand on his head between his ears. "I have got you," she said softly. "Nothing is going to hurt you while I am here." Tay looked up at her with those huge eyes and saw something there. That made him feel warm for the first time in months. Safety, protection, pack, hay was different. She did not want comfort. She wanted to understand. One afternoon, she approached Yuna with her chin raised and her fur bristled. "The other species say humans are predators. They say you are dangerous. Are you?" Yuna considered this. She could have lied, could have made herself seem softer than she was. But these children had already been lied to by the universe. They deserved truth. "Yes," she said simply. "Humans are predators. We have forward-facing eyes to track movement. We have teeth designed to tear meat. We come from a world where almost everything wants to kill us, so we learn to kill back. We are very, very good at violence." Hey took a step back, but Yuna continued. "But we are also very good at protecting. Human parents will die for their children without hesitation. Human soldiers will jump on grenades to save their friends. Humans form packs, hey, and once you are in a human's pack, they will go through fire to keep you safe. That is what makes us dangerous to our enemies. And that is what makes us loyal to our family. Are we in your pack?" Hey asked, her voice very small now. Yuna looked at her then, really looked at her, eye contact and all. "Yes, from the moment I saw you, all 4 of you, I decided. You are mine to protect. And I will." Hei's eyes filled with tears. She had been trying to be brave for so long, trying to hold together for the others. But hearing those words, seeing the absolute certainty in Yuna's face, something inside her broke open. She ran forward and buried her face in Yuna's chest, sobbing. Yuna wrapped her arms around the small alien child and held her while she cried. "It is okay," she murmured. "You do not have to be brave all the time. You can be scared. You can cry. I will be brave for you until you are ready to be brave again." Bio was the hardest. He still spent most of his time in his sleeping pod, only coming out when he absolutely had to. But Yuna was patient. She started sitting next to his pod while she worked on her tablet, just being present. She would talk to him through the pod's opening, not expecting answers. "Today I saw a ship docking that came from the Andromeda cluster," she would say. "The crew have blue skin and 6 arms. Very interesting. They were carrying crates of something that smelled like cinnamon." Or, "I am reading a book about Earth animals. Did you know we have birds that can fly for months without landing? They sleep while flying. Can you imagine?" After a week of this, Bo's voice came from inside the pod, tiny and scared. "Will you carry me?" Yuna's heart broke a little. "Yes, anytime you want." Bo emerged from his pod slowly, his translucent skin showing all his fear in colors that flickered and changed. Yuna knelt down and held out her arms. Bo walked into them and let her pick him up. He was surprisingly light, almost weightless. "Where you want to go?" Yuna asked. "Everywhere. I want to see everything. But I am scared." "Then we will go everywhere together. And when you are scared, you can hide your face against my shoulder. I will keep watch for both of us." For the next 3 days, Bo did not leave Yuna's arms except to sleep. She carried him to meals, carried him through the station corridors, carried him during her work duties. Other aliens stared, confused by this human predator being so gentle with such a fragile creature. But Yuna ignored them. Bo needed this, needed to feel safe and high up where he could see danger coming. And she would give him that for as long as he needed that. By the end of the month, something remarkable had happened. The cubs had begun to call Yuna Nuna, which meant big sister in one of Earth's Korean languages. Yuna had taught them the word when explaining human family structures, and they had latched onto it immediately. They ate all their meals together now, Yuna and the 4 cubs around the low table. They told stories. They laughed. Yuna showed them pictures from Earth on her tablet, images of mountains and oceans, of animals both predator and prey. "On Earth, everything eats and everything is eaten," she explained. "Rabbits eat grass. Foxes eat rabbits. Bears eat foxes. But they all exist together, all part of the same world. Prey and predator, they need each other. The balance makes them all stronger." "What do humans eat?" Bo asked from his spot on her lap. He still liked being carried, but now it was choice rather than need. "Everything," Yuna admitted with a laugh. "Humans are omnivores. We eat plants and meat both. It is part of what made us successful as a species. We can survive anywhere because we can eat anything." At night, the cubs started sleeping in a pile near Yuna's room. Not in her room, not yet, but close enough that they could hear her breathing. It comforted them, that steady sound of their Nuna sleeping nearby, ready to wake if they needed her. One evening, as they were getting ready for bed, Hay asked a question that had been bothering her. "Nuna, what if we disappoint you? What if we cannot be brave like you want?" Yuna knelt down to Hay's level. "You could never disappoint me. Bravery is not about not being scared. It is about loving something more than you fear the danger. You 4 are already so brave. You survived when your worlds died. You are still here, still trying, still hoping. That is the bravest thing I have ever seen." She looked at all 4 of them, these small broken children who had become her whole world. "I do not need you to be brave. I just need you to be you. Let me handle the being brave part for now. You just focus on healing." Tay pressed against her side. Rin's quills were smooth and calm. Bo reached up to touch her face with one translucent finger. And Hay smiled, really smiled, for the first time since arriving at the station. They were not healed yet. They were still scared of many things. But now they had something stronger than fear. They had each other. They had family. They had Nuna, who would stand between them and the universe itself if she had to. And slowly, very slowly, they were learning that maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. The alarm screamed through Sanctuary Station at midday, a sound like metal tearing and sirens wailing all at once. Yuna was in the recreation area with the 4 cubs, teaching them a hand game from Earth. When the sound hit, all 4 cubs froze instantly, eyes going wide with terror. But Yuna did not freeze. Her entire body changed in a heartbeat. Every muscle tensed. Her eyes went sharp and cold, scanning the room like a machine processing targets. Her hand shot out and grabbed her tablet, checking the station's emergency broadcast. Hull breach in Docking Bay 3. Unknown vessels. Armed intruders. All personnel initiate lockdown protocols. Pirates. Yuna's mind went into combat mode. The training from her years in the Defense Corps snapping into place like a weapon being loaded. She turned to the cubs, and when she spoke, her voice was nothing like they had ever heard before. It was hard, cold, absolute. Get behind me. Stay low. Do not make a sound. Do you understand? They nodded, too terrified to speak. This was not their Nuna. This was something else. Something that moved like a predator and spoke like a soldier. They had seen her gentle side, her patient side. Now, they were seeing the other side. The side that made humans feared across the galaxy. Yuna moved them quickly to the far corner of the recreation room, away from the doors. She grabbed anything that could be a weapon, a metal rod from the equipment closet, a sharp edge broken off a chair, a length of electrical cable. She positioned the cubs behind a heavy table and crouched in front of them. No matter what happens, you stay here. You do not move. You do not make noise. If someone comes through that door who is not me or station security, you close your eyes. Understand? Nuna, Tay whispered, his whole body shaking. What is happening? Bad people are trying to hurt children on this station. They want to steal you and sell you. Yuna's voice was still cold, but there was something burning underneath it now. Rage. Pure, focused rage. But they will not touch you. I promise you that. They will not get past me. Through the walls, they could hear sounds. Running feet, shouting, something that might have been weapon fire. The cubs pressed closer together, quills rattling, fur standing on end, skin flickering with panic colors. But they stayed silent and low, just like Yuna told them. Yuna locked the recreation room door and moved furniture to create a barrier. Then she positioned herself in front of the cubs, the metal rod in her hands, and she waited. Her breathing was controlled. Her hands were steady. She looked like a statue of war itself. Minutes passed like hours. Then they heard it. Heavy footsteps outside the door. Multiple individuals. Voices speaking in a rough trader language. This section should have the young ones. Easy pickings. The station security is all tied up at the main breach. Remember, we want them alive. Dead merchandise does not sell. The door handle rattled. When it did not open, something heavy hit the door. Once, twice. The lock started to give way. Yuna looked back at the cubs one more time. Her face softened for just a moment. Close your eyes. All of you. Right now. They obeyed immediately. Hay wrapped her arms around Tay. Rin pressed Bio against her chest. They buried their faces and squeezed their eyes shut as tight as they could. The door crashed open. What happened next took less than 30 seconds, but it would live in Yuna's memory forever. 3 pirates rushed in, big aliens with armor and shock weapons. They saw Yuna standing there, one small human with a metal rod, and they laughed. They should not have laughed. The first pirate got close enough to grab for her. Yuna moved like water, like wind, like something that could not be touched. She ducked under his reaching arm and brought the metal rod up into his throat with surgical precision. He went down choking. The second pirate raised his shock weapon. Yuna grabbed the electrical cable she had set aside and whipped it forward. It wrapped around the weapon and she yanked hard, pulling it from his grip. Then she was inside his guard, using his own momentum against him, sending him crashing into the wall with enough force to dent the metal. The third pirate, smarter than his friends, tried to run. Yuna did not let him. She caught him at the door and brought him down with a leg sweep that would have made her old combat instructor proud. He hit the ground, and she was on him instantly. The metal rod pressed against his neck. "Move and I crush your windpipe," she said in perfect trader language. Her voice Arctic cold. He went very still, behind her. The cubs had their eyes closed, but they could hear everything. The thuds. The crashes. The sounds of combat that lasted only heartbeats, but felt like forever. They heard Yuna breathing hard, heard the pirates groaning on the floor. Then they heard footsteps, fast and light and coming toward them. Rin's quills started to rattle in panic. "It is okay." Yuna's voice cut through their fear. "Normal again. Warm again. It is just me. You can open your eyes now." They opened their eyes slowly. The recreation room was a disaster. Furniture was scattered. 2 pirates were unconscious on the floor. One was pinned under Yuna's foot, whimpering. And Yuna herself stood there, breathing hard, her knuckles bleeding, her hair fallen loose from its tie. She had a cut on her forehead and her shirt was torn, but she was smiling. Not a happy smile. A fierce smile. The smile of a predator who had protected her pack. "Are you hurt?" she asked them, her voice gentle despite the violence around them. They shook their heads, unable to speak. Station security arrived moments later, rushing in with weapons drawn. They stopped dead when they saw the scene. 1 small human woman. 3 unconscious or subdued pirates. 4 cubs huddled in the corner, terrified but completely unharmed. The security chief, a massive insectoid alien with mandibles clicking in shock, stared at Yuna. "What? How did you?" "I was a combat medic in the Human Defense Corps," Yuna said simply. "Medics have to be able to fight their way to wounded soldiers. We train in combat just like everyone else." She looked down at the pirate under her foot. "I suggest you secure these 3 before they wake up. And check the station for more. Raiders usually work in larger groups." As security restrained the pirates and led them away, Yuna finally let herself relax. The adrenaline was fading now, leaving her hands shaking and her body aching. She turned back to the cubs and knelt down slowly. "I am sorry you had to hear that," she said softly. "I know it was scary." Hay's voice was tiny. "Nuna, you are bleeding." Yuna looked at her hands. Her right hand was badly bruised, possibly broken. Blood dripped from her knuckles. The cut on her head was still bleeding too. "Yes, but it is okay. You are safe. That is all that matters." Bio crawled out from behind the others and reached for her. "You are hurt because of us." "No," Yuna said firmly, ignoring the pain to pull all 4 cubs into her arms. "I am hurt because I protected you. There is a difference. And I would do it again. I would do it 1,000 times. You are my family. Family protects each other." They clung to her, careful of her injuries, and for the first time since the attack, they started to cry. Not from fear this time, but from something else. Relief, gratitude, love. Station medical personnel arrived to treat Yuna's injuries. They tried to separate the cubs from her, worried they were in the way. But when they tried, all 4 cubs showed something the medical staff had never seen from them before. Aggression. Hay hissed, her teeth bared. Tay's ears went flat, and he made a growling sound deep in his throat. Rin's quills went up like weapons. Bo's skin flashed angry red colors. The medical personnel backed away in shock. The director, who had just arrived, stared in amazement. "It is okay," Yuna said, laughing despite the pain. "Let them stay. I want them here anyway." So they treated her injuries while the cubs stayed pressed against her sides. 2 broken fingers on her right hand, multiple bruises, a mild concussion from when one pirate had managed to clip her head. Nothing serious. Nothing that would not heal Dot, but the cubs, who had been afraid of everything for so long, sat there and watched the medical work with dry eyes and raised chins. They did not flinch at the blood. They did not run from the scary medical tools. They stayed right there with their Nuna, who had bled for them, who had fought for them, who had proven with actions instead of words exactly what she meant when she said they were her pack. When it was over and Yuna's hand was wrapped in a cast, the 4 cubs helped her walk back to their quarters. They moved as a unit now, surrounding her, protecting her the only way they knew how. By being close, by refusing to leave her side. That night, for the first time, they did not sleep near her room. They slept in her room, all of them piled on her bed while she sat in a chair nearby, one arm in a sling but still keeping watch. And the cubs, who had been afraid of everything, slept peacefully, because they had learned something important. Their Nuna was not just kind. She was not just patient. She was also fierce. She was also dangerous. She was a human, an apex predator, a warrior, and she was theirs. The morning after the attack, Yuna woke to find all 4 cubs still pressed against her, even though she had eventually dozed off in the chair. They had moved during the night to curl around her feet, her legs, anywhere they could touch her. When she opened her eyes, they were already awake, watching her with something new in their gazes. Not fear, trust. "Good morning," she said softly, her voice rough from exhaustion. "Good morning, Nuna," they chorused back. Her hand still hurt badly, throbbing in its cast. Her head ached from the concussion. But seeing them like this, calm and close and choosing to stay near her, made every injury worth it. The station was different that day. The investigation revealed that the pirate attack was not random. They had been specifically targeting refugee stations, looking for young aliens to sell into slavery. Sanctuary Station had been one of many on their list. Station security had fought them off, but it had been close. Too close. The director called a meeting of all department heads and key personnel. Yuna attended, her arms still in a sling, the cubs following behind her like shadows. When she tried to tell them to stay in the quarters, they had refused with a firmness that surprised even them. "We want to stay with you," Hay had said. And the others nodded in agreement. So Yuna brought them to the meeting, settling them in chairs beside her while the adults talked about security upgrades and threat assessments. The director explained that intelligence reports suggested more raids were coming, that refugee stations across the sector were vulnerable. "We cannot guarantee safety here anymore," the director said, her many arms gesturing in distress. "The Galactic Refugee Commission is recommending we disperse the children to different facilities, spread them out so they are harder to target." Yuna felt the cubs stiffen beside her. She knew what that meant. They would be separated, sent to different stations, different worlds. The family they had just started to build would be torn apart. "No," Tay said suddenly. All eyes turned to the small Velen, who had barely spoken above a whisper since arriving at the station. But his voice was clear now, certain. "We want to stay with Nuna." The director's expression was kind but sad. "Little one, I understand. But Yuna is staff here. She cannot travel with you to new facilities. It does not work that way." "Then we will not go," Bio said, his translucent skin showing determined purple colors. "We will stay here." "The station is not safe," another staff member argued. "Nowhere is safe," Rin said, speaking up in that voice she had kept silent for so long. "But with Nuna, we are safer than anywhere else. She fought 3 pirates alone. She protected us. She will protect us again." Hay stood up from her chair, drawing herself to her full height, which was not very tall at all. But there was something fierce in her eyes, something that had not been there before the attack. She makes us brave. Before Nuna, we were afraid of everything. We could not eat, could not sleep, could not live. Now we can, because of her. Yuna felt her throat tighten with emotion. She reached out with her good hand and placed it on Hei's shoulder. "It is okay," she started to say, but Hei interrupted her, turning to face the adults in the room. "We want to make a statement to the Galactic Refugee Commission. We want to stay together. We want to stay with Yuna." The director looked troubled. The Commission does not usually allow individual humans to become guardians of alien children. The paperwork alone is complicated, and Yuna would need to prove she can provide a stable home, adequate care, proper education. "I can do all of that," Yuna said quietly. All eyes turned to her. She took a breath, ignoring the pain in her hand, and continued. "I have savings from my service years. I can leave the station and find work elsewhere, somewhere safer. I have medical training, combat training, teaching certifications from the course. I can provide for them." She looked at the 4 cubs. These small aliens who had somehow become her entire world in just a few months. "I did not come here planning to become a mother. I came here to hide from my own demons. But these 4 changed everything. They gave me a reason to be strong again. They gave me a purpose. If they want me, if the Commission allows it, I want them too." The room went silent. Then, Bio climbed down from his chair and walked over to Yuna. He climbed into her lap, careful of her injuries, and looked up at her with his huge eyes. "We are your pack, right?" he asked. "Yes," Yuna whispered. "And humans protect their pack," he continued. "Yes, then we will protect you too, like you protect us." Bio turned to face the director. "We are not going anywhere without our Nuna." Over the next 2 weeks, things moved faster than anyone expected. The Cubs' statement was recorded and sent to the Galactic Refugee Commission. Yuna began the formal process of applying to become their guardian. Character witnesses were interviewed. Background checks were run. Medical and psychological evaluations were completed for both Yuna and the Cubs. The Cubs surprised everyone. During their evaluations, they were not healed completely, still carried trauma that would take years to process. But they were stable, improving, thriving, even. The psychologist noted in her report that the Cubs showed remarkable resilience and attachment to their human caretaker, demonstrating significant improvement in all areas of development since her arrival. But there were complications. Some Commission officials argued that humans were too dangerous, too predatory, to raise prey species children. Others worried about the Cubs being isolated from their own cultures. There were debates and meetings and endless bureaucratic processes. The Cubs waited anxiously. Yuna tried to keep them busy, teaching them more about Earth, about human culture, about the wide universe beyond the station. But every night, they would huddle together and worry. "What if they say no?" Tay asked one evening. "Then we will figure something else out," Yuna said, though her own heart was breaking at the possibility. "But no matter what, I will not abandon you. I promise." The answer came 5 weeks after the pirate attack. The director called Yuna to her office alone, and Yuna's heart sank. Bad news, she thought. They were going to say no. But when she entered the office, the director was smiling with all her mouths. "The Commission has approved your application. There are conditions, of course. You must relocate to a registered childcare facility with proper educational resources. You must submit to regular wellness checks. The Cubs must have access to cultural education about their home species. But if you agree to these terms, they are yours, officially." Yuna sat down hard in the nearest chair. "Really? Really?" The director handed her a tablet with documents already loaded. "There is one facility in particular I want to recommend. It is on Station Haven, near the core worlds. Much safer than here. They have excellent schools, cultural programs for dozens of species, and they are currently hiring security personnel with your qualifications. The pay is good. Housing is provided. It would be perfect for your new family. Yuna looked at the documents with blurry eyes. Family. She had a family again. When do we leave? She asked. Whenever you are ready. Yuna found the cubs in the recreation room, playing a game she had taught them. When they saw her face, they knew immediately. We can stay together, she said, and before she could say anything else, they were on her, all four of them, hugging and crying and laughing all at once. She wrapped her good arm around them and let the tears fall freely. Happy tears this time. Relief tears. We are really a family now? Bio asked. We are really a family now, Yuna confirmed. They spent the next week preparing to leave, packing the few belongings they had, saying goodbye to the station staff who had helped them. The cubs were nervous about leaving the only home they had known since their worlds ended, but they were also excited. A new start, a new place. Together. On the day of departure, as they stood in the docking bay waiting for their transport, Tay looked up at Yuna. Will you teach us to fight like you? To be strong like you? Yuna knelt down to his level, mindful of her hand which was healing well. I will teach you something better. I will teach you to be strong and kind. That is the real human way. To be fierce when protecting those you love, but gentle with that love itself. Can you do that? They nodded solemnly, all four of them. Good, because that is what family does. We protect each other. We lift each other up. We face the scary universe together. The transport arrived, sleek and new, and heading to their future. As they boarded, Yuna carrying Bio and holding Tay's hand while Rin and Hei walked close beside her, she thought about how far they had all come. These cubs who had been afraid of everything. This human who had been running from her own pain. They had found each other in the darkness and made their own light. On Station Haven, they found a small apartment in the family housing wing. 3 bedrooms, though the cubs still insisted on sleeping together in one room, piled up in their own chosen pack formation. Yuna enrolled them in school where they would learn alongside children from 100 different species. She took the security job, working reasonable hours so she could be home for dinner every night. Life was not perfect. The cubs still had nightmares sometimes. Yuna still flinched at certain sounds. But they faced it together. Tay became braver every day, asking questions and exploring with the curiosity his species was known for. Rin sang again, teaching her siblings the old songs of her people.